Your body hates smoke, genuinely deeply hates it. Breathe in a real lungful and you'll cough, your eyes will stream, your throat will burn, your whole system will lurch into emergency mode trying to expel it. And that reaction isn't random. It is one of the oldest, wisest alarm signals your body owns. Because for your entire evolutionary history, for millions of years before you existed, smoke meant one thing: the world is on fire, move. Now, so explain this, explain why humans all over the planet, in cultures that never met and never could have shared a single idea, independently decided to override that alarm. To breathe smoke in, on purpose, for pleasure, for ritual, for reasons they often couldn't have explained themselves. That is one of the strangest things our species has ever done. We took our most ancient danger signal, the primal scream of fire, run, and we turned it into a habit, a pleasure, a sacred act, and we did it far, far earlier than you'd think. Here is the thing nobody tells you about smoking. And I don't just mean cigarettes. I mean the whole ancient human relationship with inhaling smoke. It is not natural. It is arguably one of the most unnatural things a creature can do. Every other animal on Earth runs from smoke. It is a near universal instinct across the animal kingdom. And for excellent reason, smoke means fire and fire means death. And then there is us, the one animal that stopped running from the smoke, turned around, walked toward it, and inhaled. And by the end of this video, I want you to understand not just when we started, but why we and only we ever could. So let's start with the alarm itself, because you have to understand what our ancestors were overriding. That cough, that streaming eyes, get away from it reflex is a piece of survival hardware hundreds of millions of years in the making. Your airways are lined with sensors whose entire job is to detect exactly this kind of irritant and slam the emergency brakes, coughing, closing up, forcing the bad air out. This system kept your ancestors alive through every wildfire, every lightning strike, every blaze that ever swept across the ancient landscape. An animal that runs from smoke lives to reproduce. An animal that lingers in it dies. So evolution, over unimaginable stretches of time, built the aversion deep into nearly everything that breathes. Smoke is bad. Flee. And I want you to really sit with how total that instinct is, because it makes what we did so much stranger. This isn't a mild preference. It isn't like disliking a bitter taste. It is a full-body emergency response, hardwired at the deepest level, shared by nearly every air-breathing creature that has ever lived. Watch any wild animal catch the scent of smoke on the wind, and you'll see raw, immediate panic, fleeing, stampeding, total, unthinking flight. That is the default setting of life on this planet in the presence of smoke. And against all of that, against hundreds of millions of years of evolutionary momentum, one species stood in the smoke and decided it liked the feeling. Nothing about that should have been possible. And yet here we are, which makes what humans did genuinely bizarre, because at some point we didn't flee. We stayed, we got curious, and to understand how that even became possible, we have to talk about the single most important relationship in human history: our relationship with fire species. It is arguably the thing that made us. Our control of fire goes back an extraordinarily long way, potentially a million years or more, into the time of our ancestor Homo erectus. And once you truly live with fire, once it is in your camp every night, cooking your food, warming your body, holding back the dark and the predators, something changes that changes everything for this story. You stop being an animal that lives inside it. Think about it. If you spend every evening of your entire life gathered around a fire in the days before chimneys, before ventilation, you are breathing smoke constantly. Wood smoke all the time for your whole life. For hundreds of thousands of years of human generations, we effectively domesticated ourselves alongside smoke. It became the smell of home, of safety, of warmth, of togetherness. The alarm signal never fully switched off. You'd still cough on a heavy lungful, but the raw terror of it faded. Smoke stopped meaning only danger. It started meaning hearth. And that, I think, is the crack in the door. That is how the impossible became possible. A creature that lives inside smoke its whole life is a creature that might one day start paying attention to what different kinds of smoke actually do. Because here is the thing they would have discovered: not all smoke is the same. Burn ordinary wood, you get ordinary smoke. But our ancestors were burning everything constantly, and they were master observers of their world, far better than we give them credit for. And every so often, a particular plant, a particular leaf or resin or seed would end up on the fire, and the smoke that came off it would be different. It would smell extraordinary. Or it would make the head swim, or it would calm a cough, or dull a pain, or bring on strange and vivid feelings. In a world with no pharmacies and no science, a plant whose very smoke could change how you felt was not a curiosity. It was close to magic, and magic gets remembered, magic gets repeated, and magic above all gets wrapped in ceremony. And I want you to appreciate just how good our ancestors were at this kind of observation, because we tend to badly underestimate them. These were people whose survival depended every single day on an encyclopedic knowledge of the plants around them. Which ones healed? Which ones killed? Which ones eased pain? Which ones stopped bleeding? Which ones you never ever touched? They carried a vast living library of botanical knowledge in their heads, built and refined and passed down across countless generations, with no writing at all. So the idea that these sharp, endlessly observant people would fail to notice that a certain plant's smoke did something remarkable is almost absurd. Of course they noticed. Noticing was their genius. They would have cataloged the effect of that smoke the same way they cataloged everything else, by watching, remembering, testing, and teaching. And a smoke that could ease pain, or lift the mind, or seem to open a door to the spirit world would have shot straight to the top of that library. It wasn't just useful, it felt sacred. So let's talk about how widespread this became, because this is where the story gets genuinely staggering, and where it goes far beyond any single plant or place. The urge to burn something special and breathe its smoke shows up independently almost everywhere humans do. Out on the vast grasslands of Central Asia, ancient peoples built braziers and burned plants in enclosed spaces, breathing the smoke in rituals tied to death and the divine, and we found the residue to prove it. In the great temples of the ancient world, from the Near East across to Asia, humans burned fragrant resins, frankincense, myrrh, and countless others, filling sacred spaces with clouds of smoke believed to carry prayers upward to the gods. In the Americas, across a huge span of cultures, people developed elaborate traditions of smoking various plants through pipes, often in ceremonial and communal settings of deep social importance. Across Africa and Asia, healers used the smoke of burning plants to treat the sick, to fumigate a home, to drive out whatever they believed was causing an illness. Look at that pattern. Central Asia, the Middle East, the Americas, Africa, cultures separated by oceans, by mountains, by tens of thousands of years, with no possible contact between them. And yet again and again and again, they arrive at the same astonishing behavior. Take a special plant. Burn it. Breathe the smoke. When a behavior appears independently that many times in that many unconnected places, you are no longer looking at a local custom that happened to spread. You are looking at something that flows directly from what it means to be human. Something about our particular mind, our particular relationship with fire, made this behavior nearly inevitable. Wherever we went, this is exactly the kind of clue scientists use to tell a deep human universal apart from a passing local invention. If only one culture did it, you could call it an accident of history, a fashion that caught on in one place and spread outward from a single source. But when peoples on opposite sides of the planet, who could not possibly have taught one another, all independently land on the same behavior, the explanation can't be contact. It has to be something built into the shared equipment we all carry. The same mind, the same body, the same ancient bond with fire, arriving at the same destination by separate roads. The smoke ritual isn't an idea that traveled from tribe to tribe across the world. It is a door that the human mind, given fire and curiosity and a hunger for the sacred, keeps discovering on its own over and over wherever it finds itself. That is not a custom. That is a signature of the species. And notice something crucial about where we keep finding it, not for the most part as idle recreation. We find it at the altar, at the graveside, in the healing ritual. In the communal ceremony, for most of human history, breathing smoke was not casual at all. It was one of the most sacred and serious things a person could do. The smoke was a bridge, a tool for reaching the gods, the ancestors, the spirit world, or for driving out sickness. And rising smoke was the perfect symbol for exactly that, something you could actually see lifting off the earth and vanishing upward toward wherever the invisible powers were thought to live. To inhale it or to offer it was to reach toward that other world. The very shape of smoke curling up and disappearing into the sky told our ancestors where it was going and where it might take them. So now, let me throw something at you that might sound wild, but I think it is the real answer to the whole mystery. The reason humans and only humans ever started breathing smoke on purpose comes down to a single unique fact about us. We are the only creature that ever tamed fire, and that one fact rewired our entire relationship with smoke, in a way it has never been rewired for any other animal in the history of life on Earth. Every other species still lives under the old rule. Smoke means fire. Fire means death. Flee. That rule was never broken for them because they never controlled the flame. They only ever met fire as a catastrophe, but we met it as a tool, and the moment fire became ours, became a companion, a permanent presence at the center of our lives, the terror slowly drained out of its smoke. We got tens of thousands of generations to grow accustomed to breathing it, to lose our raw fear of it, to become uniquely on this entire planet. The smoke-adapted ape. No other animal ever got that. No other animal ever sat in the smoke every night for 1,000,000 years until it felt like home. Our mastery of fire didn't just cook our food and warm our bodies and light our nights. It quietly disabled the alarm that would have stopped this behavior dead in any other creature. It cleared the way, and there may be even more to it than habit and familiarity. Consider this. Humans have lived with wood smoke so intimately, and for so long that some researchers have wondered whether our bodies actually adapted to it at a biological level over that vast stretch of time. Living crammed around smoky fires in caves and shelters for hundreds of thousands of years is a serious, sustained pressure. It is at least plausible that we became more tolerant of routine smoke exposure than a creature that never had to cope with it. That fire, having reshaped our diet, our sleep, or social lives, our very anatomy, reshaped our lungs' relationship with smoke too. I want to be careful here. This is not fully settled science, and I'm not claiming smoke is somehow safe for us. It absolutely isn't, but it points at something profound. Our bond with fire may run so deep that it altered not just how we live, but what our bodies can endure. We are not just a species that uses fire. We are a species that was in part built by it. And a body partly shaped around smoke is a body that could uniquely learn to breathe it on purpose. And once that alarm was quiet, our other great gifts took over. Our endless curiosity, our genius for noticing patterns, our deep drive to find meaning, to reach for the sacred, to alter our own experience of being alive. We noticed which smokes did something. We remembered them. We wrapped them in ritual and meaning and passed them carefully down the generations. Breathing smoke became, for our species, a technology of the sacred, a way to heal, to worship, to grieve, to transcend. It was one of the very first tools we ever found for deliberately reaching beyond ordinary experience. And it had been sitting there the whole time in the fire we'd already tamed, waiting for a creature curious enough and comfortable enough to lean in instead of pulling back. Now we have to talk about the shadow side of this, because it is real and it is woven into the very same story. Here is the uncomfortable part. The exact thing that made this possible, or unique ability to override that ancient smoke alarm, is also exactly what makes smoking so dangerous and so agonizingly hard to escape. Your body's aversion to smoke was never wrong. Smoke genuinely does damage. That alarm was protecting you all along. And the tragedy of the modern world is that we became so good at silencing it, and so good at refining and concentrating and delivering smoke, that we can now override a life-saving instinct thousands upon thousands of times, until the very behavior that once felt sacred becomes a grip that is brutal to break. Our ancestors mostly met this in the bounded occasional context of ritual and ceremony, hedged around with rules and meaning and restraint. Stripped of that container, breathed constantly and casually and alone, the same act can turn from sacred rite into something that quietly takes a life. And I'm not here to lecture you. That is genuinely not what this channel does. But I'll be straight with you. The way I always try to be, that alarm in your body was ancient wisdom, and it still is. Our ancestors seem to have half understood that this was something powerful and serious, which may be exactly why they surrounded it with so much ceremony and restraint in the first place, why they reserved it for the biggest moments rather than the smallest. And if breathing smoke in any form has become something that grips you or someone you love, there is no shame in it whatsoever. You are wrestling with an override that is tens of thousands of years in the making, one of the oldest and stickiest habits our whole species has ever had. Reaching out for help against something that old and that strong is not weakness. It is one of the most human things a person can do. I'll leave that there. So when did humans first smoke something? And here is the honest answer, the one this channel always owes you. We will almost certainly never know. And the reason is strangely beautiful. The very first time a human deliberately breathed smoke from a special plant, they left nothing at all behind. Smoke vanishes, a single breath disperses in seconds. There is no fossil of an inhalation, no artifact of one curious moment beside an ancient fire. What survives, the braziers, the pipes, the temple residues, the burial tents, all comes from tens of thousands of years later, when the behavior was already old, already ritualized, already refined into elaborate ceremony. Those finds are not the beginning. They're a late polished chapter of a story whose first page is gone forever. But we can say this much, and it is remarkable enough on its own. It is almost certainly far older than any evidence we will ever dig up, because the behavior requires only two things: a creature living intimately with fire, and a curious, meaning hungry mind, and humans have had both for an astonishingly long time. Somewhere, deep in the Stone Age, long before any brazier or pipe or temple, some humans sat beside a fire, noticed that one particular smoke did something wonderful, or strange, or holy, and leaned in. That was the first time. We cannot see that moment, but we can see its long shadow stretching across nearly every culture that has ever existed, all the way down to you, because that is the part I want to leave you with. When you strip it all the way back, breathing smoke is the story of the one animal that conquered its oldest fear. Every other creature on this planet still obeys the ancient command. Smoke means fire, so flee. We are the single exception in the entire history of life. We tamed the flame, sat in its smoke until the terror faded, and then did the truly unthinkable. We turned around, walked toward the one thing every instinct screamed at us to run from, and breathed it deep into our chests, looking for warmth, for healing, for the sacred, for a door to somewhere beyond the ordinary world. It is reckless, and it is profound, and it is one of the most purely human things we have ever done. No other animal would dare it. No other animal ever could. Our ancestors overrode a million-year-old alarm because their curiosity and their hunger for meaning somehow grew stronger than their fear. That is either the most foolish thing about our species or the most magnificent. And honestly, the more I sit with it, the more I think it might be both at once. That is us in a single act, reckless and reaching, foolish and holy, walking into the smoke. So here is my question for you. Knowing now that your body's hatred of smoke is ancient protective wisdom, does it change how you think about the fact that humans everywhere still chose to override it? I'm genuinely curious how that one lands for you. Let me know in the comments. Until then, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.